So last time we were talking about primary parts of speech. We delve in primary parts of speech. We explained what are primary parts of speech. We mentioned examples like that and like that. But today we are going to talk about secondary parts of speech which are used in literature. Number one, we have a contrast. What is a contrast? A contrast, it is when you compare two things and list or mention their differences. Contrast. That's why in literature they will say compare and contrast. When you compare and contrast, you are mentioning the differences of these two things that you are talking about. And then we go to an irony. What is an irony? It is the figure of speech in which the intended meaning, it is the opposite of the expressed words. The intended meaning, it is the opposite of the expressed words. It means that the words that are expressed are the opposite. I don't know if maybe someone gets me there. Let me make an example about an irony, but before giving an example, I'll just generally explain what is an irony. It is when something that we didn't expect it to happen happens. I don't know if I'm making any sense. We were expecting this character at the end of the story to be killed, because maybe the events that were happening were showing other characters planning to kill this character. But at the end, this character that we expected him or her to be killed now kills the other one, or the other ones that were planning to kill him or her. That's an irony. But we tend to have many ironies in literature. For an example, we have a situational irony. A situational irony, they say, when you expect something to happen but the exact opposite happens. So it means that the one that I was explaining, it is a situational irony, because we're in a situation whereby we expect something to happen but it does happen in another way around. In a sense. And then we go to dramatic irony. What is dramatic irony? When the audience has more information than at least one of the characters in the story. You know, as audience, when we are watching we are watching a certain play or a certain story or drama, to say in specific, by looking at the scene or by looking at the events that are happening in the story, we have more information than other characters that are associated in that event. When the audience has more information than at least one of the characters in the play or in the scene, we call it dramatic irony. When, or let's say, for an example, in scene 2, they are planning to kill Masombula. During that planning, or during that plan, these characters are planning to kill Masombula. The killing of Masombula will not take place or will not happen in scene 2, but will happen in scene 3. And during the plan, Masombula is not there. Us as the audience, we are watching these two characters planning to kill Masombula. The killing of Masombula will happen in scene 3. That's where Masombula will be killed. It is in scene 3. So it's a dramatical irony, because we as the audience, we have information than Masombula. Masombula is the character in that play. We as the audience, we have information about the killing of Masombula, but Masombula is not aware that he is going to be killed in scene 3. So we are going to sarcasm. What is sarcasm? Sarcasm, it is a form of verbal irony that is meant to be hurtful or embarrassing. A form of a verbal irony that is meant to be hurtful or embarrassing. Let me make an example about sarcasm. When I say, congratulations, you got 5% out of 100%. You see, I'm like congratulating you. I'm not actually congratulating you. You see, it is an embarrassment. It hurts. That's sarcasm. And then going to euphemism. Euphemism, it is the neutral or offensive phrase or word that is used in the place of another word or another phrase that is embarrassing. For an example, if I can say, Vusi left his wife Nontombi as he found out that he was sleeping with another man. In this scenario, Vusi left his wife because he found her sleeping with another man. Instead of saying Vusi left his wife, I'll just say Vusi broke up with his wife. You see, I'm replacing the phrase with a certain term, with a certain word. You see, it happens like that, even if when we replace the word with a phrase. That's euphemism. It is a neutral or offensive word or phrase that replaces another word or phrase that is embarrassing. We are just replacing the word with a phrase, or we are replacing the phrase with another word that is embarrassing. We replace Vusi left, we said Vusi broke up. In another scenario, it will happen in another way around. And then we go to rhetorical question. What is a rhetorical question? A rhetorical question, it uses a structure of a question to create a statement, meaning that it is not actually a question, but it is a statement that sounds as a question. It has an impact. It has that impact. Or generally, so we can say posing a question, not opposing, but posing a question which doesn't need an answer. Rhetorical question, it is commonly used in poetry. Yeah. And then, what are characters? Characters are the people that we meet in the story. The author imagines characters, creates characters, and gives them different roles in that play or in that story. Characters have names, characters have roles. We differentiate characters by their behaviors, by their intellectual, by their abilities, and other things. So, for an example, in My Children, My Africa, the drama for grade 12s, we have Tamim Bigwana, we have Mr. Anela Mialatia, we have Isabel Dyson, we have like that and like that. Those characters were imagined by the author, were created by the author, were given roles by the author in that play. And then we have the setting of the story. What is the setting of the story? It is the time or era, the place or the location where the story is written or created, as well as the social context that is happening in that story. And then, what is a plot? A plot is a series of events happening or taking place in the story. Say a plot, it is a series of events happening in the story. These events that are happening in that story or in this story, they are separated. We have an introduction, we have a rising action, we have climax, we have the falling action, we have the resolution or the conclusion, right? And then now we are going to the narration of the story, the narrator's point of view. So initially, what is a narrator? A narrator, it is a person who tells the story. That's a narrator, generally so. So we have a first-person narrator or first-person narration style. What is a first-person narrator? A first-person narrator, it is the narrator that is one of the characters in the story. Meaning that the first-person narrator is also a character, is also included in the story. So he or she narrates the story based on his or her experience, based on what he or she sees during the events in the story. That's the first person narration style, or that's the first person narrator. And then we are going to the third person narration style, or the third person narrator. A third person narrator narrates the story from a distant view. He or she is not in the story, or he or she is not associated in the events that are happening in the story. We have three types of third person narration style. Number one, we have the third person omniscient narration style, or the third person omniscient narrator. This third person omniscient narrator narrates the story, or it is the narrator that knows all the events that are happening in the story. This narrator knows how other characters feel and knows how other characters think. This is the third person omniscient narrator. I come again. The third person omniscient narrator, it is the narrator that knows how other characters feel, what they think. Okay. And then the third person objective narration style, or the third person objective narrator. This narrator knows what is happening in the events of the story, but doesn't know what these characters are thinking, or what does these characters think, and also doesn't know how these characters feel. Right. And then we go to the last one, the third person limited narration style, or the third person limited narrator. This narrator is limited as they are telling us. Why are we saying this narrator is limited? A third person limited narrator, it is the narrator that focuses on one character. Meaning this character is limited, focuses on one character, focuses on this, and mainly third person limited narrators, they normally focus on the protagonist, the main character. So meaning that this character knows what is happening in the events associated or associating the protagonist. Each and every event associating the protagonist, what the protagonist feel, what the protagonist thinks. That's the third person limited narrator. A third person limited narrator, it is the narrator that focuses on the protagonist, or the main character, meaning that this narrator knows what happens with the protagonist. He or she knows what does the protagonist think, or what does the protagonist feels. And what is a theme? A theme, it is a message or an idea that is explored in a text. A story can have many themes: theme of love, education, patriarchy, like that and like that. But when you go to university, they will now distinguish between a theme and a subject. So they are saying a theme cannot be one word, but a theme can be a sentence, meaning that a subject can be one word. When in grade 12 we said love is a theme, education is a theme, Patriarchy is a theme, but now in university literature we say that's a subject. We say now a theme, it is, or it must be a sentence. Let's say, for an example, love life for early 20s. Love life for early 20s. That's a theme. When we talk about a subject, we can say that's love. I don't know if I'm making any sense. A mood, it is the emotional atmosphere that the author or the writer creates. The emotional atmosphere that you get when you read, created by the author or the writer of that text. It is the mood. So then the writer or the author can also use images to bring the mood or to create the mood of the text that you are reading. When you see those images, that's where you will feel, or that's where you will get, that's where you will have the sense of the mood, the emotionality of the text that you are reading. The message of the story, it is what the author intends or the writers intends to teach readers through the events happening in the story or in the play. Right. So they are saying, lastly, the subject of the message of the story can be complex, but readers can be able to analyze from their own perspective. You know, they normally say, as literature students, we must have that ability to analyze, we must have that ability to criticize, we must have that ability to say or to create our own ideologies or our own perspectives from a certain play or a certain story.
My top 4 best authors.
Standing on position number 1, I have Chetan Bhagat, an Indian author. He's well known for his best-selling novel titled Revolution 2020. He's currently 50 years old. Number 2, I have Nadine Gordimer, a South African author. May her soul rest in peace. She's well known for her best-selling short story, A Chip of a Class Ruby. And I have on position number 3, No Violet Bulawayo, a Zimbabwean author. She's currently 43 years old. She's well known for her best novel, Our Country Needs New Names. Such a best marvelous novel ever. And then I have the last one, position number 4, Ntikeng Mohlele, a South African author from Limpopo. Yeah, well known for his best-selling novel titled Small Things. This is my top 4 best novelists and writers. Thank you.